is Bob Beckel,
This is Cal Thomas, a conservative who is pro-life,
a liberal who once worked for Jimmy Carter,
who favors smaller government,
who believes in big government.
and in a town full of cheap shot artists, I've never heard Cal take a cheap shot.
But even when he's wrong, he's likable. And this is Common Ground.
And this is Common Ground.
Welcome again to Common Ground, a video version of Bob Beckel's and my bi-weekly USA Today column in which we try, and sometimes succeed, to figure out how to bridge Washington's partisan divide. Well, Bob, I'm going to be channeling my good friend George McGovern, the 1972 Democratic presidential nominee, who famously said, in another context, in another war, "Come home, America." Now, I don't believe that we can afford to withdraw from the world and be isolationist, but I do think that it's long past time for other countries that have benefited from our nuclear and other financial benefits, blood, sweat, and tears, to start paying some of their own bills. We literally, as he said, cannot be policemen of the world. Now, did you ever think you'd see the day when I agreed with George McGovern on anything?
Did you ever think you'd see the day when I'm so shocked I can't talk?
That would be
really?
a switch.
That's amazing. Well, you know, look, here's the thing we've got to keep in mind. Here we've got this Egyptian issue.
Right.
And it is a big deal. And I remember when George Bush talked about exporting our style democracy around the world, which was a great idea,
Yep.
but frankly a little naive. The United States, what I find to be incredible is how far behind the times we are. We seem to side with people who are dictators because they're in our national security interest,
Right.
and yet we never pick up on the fact there's a revolution going on out there, and by the time we catch up with it, the people have moved ahead, the dictators are gone, and we're left with a country that's anti-American.
Right. Well, one of the problems, of course, is that it's where you begin with your definition. Freedom, to us, is founded in certain absolutes. You look back at the Declaration of Independence. We're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. That was a philosophical foundation to our Constitution. Now, freedom to other countries, let's take some of the Muslim Brotherhood, for example, who want to gain power throughout the Middle East, establish a worldwide caliphate by force, and do away with the Western culture as we know it. These people believe that freedom is contained within Islam, and if you live within Sharia law, then you are ultimately free. Those clearly are conflicting viewpoints. So we need to define freedom before we go and try to promote it around the world, thinking that everybody is ready to embrace a Western-style democracy.
I agree with that. Now, you know, at the basis of our freedoms are freedom of press,
Right.
freedom of expression, and freedom of religion, you know, and the religion and the state should be separate. The problem is when you export democracy, in the small d, to a country, like you say, that is dominated by a religion that is intolerant of any other religions, then you don't have a United States-style democracy. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, a real example of this came home to me several years ago during the George W. Bush administration. He sent Karen Hughes, a very kind and a very articulate and educated individual, to Saudi Arabia to talk to the women there. And the Saudi government put together a group of women, and Karen Hughes said, look, in America, women can drive cars. In Saudi Arabia, of course, women not only cannot drive cars, but if they go anywhere in a car, they have to be driven by a close male relative, and they have to sit in the back seat. And I'll never forget, one of the Saudi women got up and said, we don't want to drive cars. We feel that we are free within Islam. And I think Karen Hughes was just gobsmacked, frankly.
Hey, well, look, let's look at another example of this. Gaza had a free and open and democratic election. By everybody's estimation, that election was well done. What happened? You elect Hamas to run your government,
Right.
which is a radical Muslim extremist group who has dedicated itself to the elimination of Israel. Right. But it nonetheless is a democracy. So are we supposed to accept that as a democracy? I don't think so. Look, when people came to this country, to form this country, they came from all over the world, and many cases, they were fleeing religious oppression.
Right.
And so when they came here, we were not only not all alike like they are like the Muslims are, but we were people who were very, very cautious about what religion could and could not do, and what mixed or should not be mixed with government.
Well, you mentioned a few minutes ago, it was a great point about the United States has over the years supported dictators because as bad as they were our dictators, and they kept the lid on and they promoted what we thought were our national interests. You worked in the Carter administration. Jimmy Carter was a good and noble man who wanted to do right for this country and around the world. I have a different perspective on how successful he was in that. But a great example that we can't export our point of view everywhere was in his bringing down the Shah of Iran. Now, the Shah of Iran was no great pluralist and multiculturalist and freedom fighter, but who replaced him, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and now subsequently Ahmadinejad, was worse than the Shah of Iran. So we have to be careful.
Yeah, let me just defend my former boss here. The Shah was going to fall anyway. I mean, there was an organized religion with somebody named Khomeini waiting in Paris to come back and take over. Now, the good news about Egypt is there is no similar situation. In fact, the people doing the demonstrating in Israel are mostly secular students who want freedom to be able to, and economic freedom more than anything else. So I think there is a whole lot of difference here. It would be nice if we were to be able to see a United States-style democracy, but we are unique in every way. And I think that I'm grateful for that. I'm sure you are as well.
I am indeed. Now, you want to finish with a chorus of Bob Dylan's "Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose"?
No, but what I want to do is I want to give you a tie-dye shirt because I think you, and some love bees because I think you've earned it. All right, folks, that's the end of Common Ground for today. Make sure you check out our column on USA Today's opinion page and also at our website, opinion.usatoday.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back again for a next installment of Common Ground.